people have backpacked or hiked in the Sierras in the summertime. Probably everyone. So at Philmont, they tell you it rains every day. And I thought, well, the Sierras, it rains every day. And I've been up like Sonora Pass, and Dan and I were up there once. It was like, 3:15. It rains. The thunder, you practically set your clock by it, and an hour later, it's gone, and 65 minutes later, the ground is dry. But at least the year we went, Philmont was not that way. So when they say take good rain gear, they mean it. Because to me, it reminded me, I don't know about Dan, but like being in the Santa Cruz Mountains in February, when the rain was like the heavens open.
So I don't know about the year that Bill went, but we went, and we went at the end of July, beginning of August, and it's what they call the monsoon season in the Colorado Rockies. And it just, every afternoon, we had a thunderstorm. And it wasn't just a little thunderstorm, it was a really heavy rain every afternoon, except probably the first day or two. So I think if I were to change anything, and we'll talk about the things that we would do differently, I would bring a little bit more rain gear than I did. So it can be really wet there. But it's apparently very variable because the crew that went the same year that you went, I think John Fetter said that it wasn't quite as wet as...
Yeah, I think 3 out of 10 days it was downpours. Yeah. We had sprinkles on a few, but one day it downpoured.
So many of us tried the classic, you wash your socks and then you tie them to the back of your pack and they're dry like by lunchtime. That didn't work. I had to carry socks back in my pack for 3 days before they got dry. The other thing, it is, I don't know, a lot of the scouts, I think their highest elevation they ever get is Ojeda, and for the whole time you're going to be higher than Ojeda. So my recommendation for training, since most of your training is going to be in springtime and you won't actually get much elevation, is to train hard, because try a 12 to 15 mile day, try to do a 3-nighter and go 30 miles, because some of our crew could have been in better condition, and we're sucking them in the first couple of days.
Well, about conditioning, it's been my experience that the scouts are actually in pretty good shape. If they're in any kind of sports at all, they're usually doing pretty well. And even if they're not in that great shape, they might be sore one day, but they recover very quickly. And by the next day, they're raring to go again. But middle-aged folks like me, we're hurting the first day, and it takes a lot longer to recover. And so the strategy that Bruce and I took was to actually reduce our pack weight as much as possible. And I think it's probably less important for the scouts. I mean, they also want to adhere to that philosophy, but it's really important, I think, for the adults.
Just a question on that for those of us. Did you guys, for those of us that have what we think of as a reasonably regular routine, treadmills or running or doing things, did you guys do more than what you had already been doing, or how would you gauge that as you went?
I was loading my pack up and carrying it up Bruce Ridge. It's like in 0.9 miles you climb 800 feet, and then I started carrying it all the way up to Black Mountain. So I kind of stepped it up because there's no substitute for carrying the weight.
So in my case, I'm fairly active anyway. I run regularly about 3 days a week, and I do resistance exercise at the Y. But running is different than backpacking. It's different muscles, and so I started doing less running and more hiking. And we did the prep hikes, the 2 15-milers and the 30-miler the summer before Philmont. And then, weekends would come and Bruce would say, let's hike up to Black Mountain, or Gary would say, let's go up Mission Peak. And so we load up the packs and we put weight on, about 25, 30 pounds, and go for hikes, because that's really what you're going to be doing. And so you want to build up those quads, and if you can do some hikes at altitude, which is a little hard because you have to drive some distance to do that, but you want to do some hikes at altitude as well. So.
I guess that's the other thing. I was frustrated by, like, in the Sierras, you can get like weather reports. Like I can go to like you could go up to Nora Pass or Yosemite and get a weather report. The Philmont is like at 8,000 feet and higher, and the closest weather station is at Cimarron, which is like 2,000 feet lower. And Philmont, I didn't know this, I couldn't figure it out by looking at the topo map, is where the Great Plains meet the Rockies. And so the weather at Cimarron is totally unlike the weather at Philmont. So I couldn't find a weather report. And I was finally I was at this meeting in, I think it was at a meeting in Boston, and I was looking at all these weather sites, up for Philmont. I was on all the things. It was a kind of boring meeting. And this guy next to me goes, "Oh, you're going to Philmont?" And he goes, "I've been there." In fact, he'd been a ranger there. So I started asking him, what's because we were going up Mount Phillips and Glen Mountain.
Well, that was the highest one we
Yeah,
got.
we had a camp at like 10,000 feet, and I didn't want to be cold, and so I said, well, if you're at 10,000 feet at Philmont, how cold can he get? And he goes, well, in the low 40s and maybe the high 30s. So I brought one piece of gear just for that night. It ended up being a rather warm night, but it had been hailing the day before. And, so that was, when we did the evaluation at the end, I wrote better weather reports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the coldest it ever got was at Mount Phillips, which is just around 11,000 feet. And I think it got in the low 40s maybe. I had a thermometer that I brought. I added a half ounce of thermometer in there. But as Bruce says, the night before that it got below freezing. So it's kind of hit or miss, but prepare for right around freezing as the worst case scenario. Depending on your trek, you might pick an itinerary that goes to higher altitude, then you might want to prepare for even colder weather.
And the flip side of that, how hot did it get?
Well, that's just at lower elevation, which is, so the headquarters is what, below 7, isn't it?
Yeah, 6'9" maybe.
Yeah. So that was like in the 80s, I think.
80s.
Yeah.
But that's when we had a big storm that came in and the temperature dropped and it started pouring rain, and I had given Nathan my hand-me-down rain suit, right, because I was trying to save money, and it just wetted through. So this was like an hour before I run to the store and buy a brand new rain suit. But yeah, the temperature can drop even at base camp.
So the first day and the last day at lower elevation were the warmest, and they were actually pretty warm hiking. But as we got higher and higher, it was very comfortable. So
The thing about Philmont is there are bears in places, and you can tell that because like there are these food commissaries that have electric cable to protect it. And so there's a strict bear protocol they have that it impacts gear choices, at least in my case, because one thing they want you to do is, of course, you have to hang your food, but you can't have your pack near your tent, so the packs have to be away from the tents, and also you have to have a dedicated set of sleeping clothes. So I use my pack, I unpack it every night, I use my pack as my second pad. I've got an inflatable pad, and I actually sleep on my pack. I don't know if other people do this. So I brought a second pad, and I also brought a dedicated set of sleeping clothes. So it's sort of more clothes than I would normally bring. But you don't argue with Philmont about bear policy. They don't actually inspect you once you're on the trail to see if you're sleeping in your sleeping clothes. But it is a little bit different in terms of a gear setup. But the one impact it had on me is I couldn't have my pack like in my tent with me and sleeping on it.
So you have a ranger that stays with you the first couple days to basically teach you the Philmont way. And once they're gone, they don't check up on you. But if you were to meet another ranger on the trail and you were doing something that you weren't supposed to do, then it's probably bad. And they're very serious about their bear techniques. They have wires at every one of their camps, and you're supposed to hang your bear bags off the wires. And they supply the ropes for that, and they supply the burlap-like bags that you put your food in.
So what are you doing with your packs in at night? Where are you putting them?
So we put those in a central location where all the packs were. They actually have a triangle. The food is